Ben,
Jacob,
מה שלומך?
how's it going?
Baruch Hashem. How was your Shavuot?
My Shavuot was festive.
Very nice. Did you stay up all night?
I didn't. I did not stay up all night. I stayed a little later, but yeah, I didn't do that. I think I did that last year, but this year I was like, I came back from a trip and just to I decided to forego the late night and then just spend the Shavuot studying in the day.
So you were cheating.
Well, I guess it depends. You can either are you gonna study more during the night, or are you gonna just? I mean, people were hanging out during the night, so I didn't do that. So that might have been more fun, but I decided to take it easier.
Yeah, I only made it until about 2 a.m. and then I went
Okay,
to bed.
I
Um,
was close at midnight.
I mean, in Los Angeles, there's so then and but meal and like that much dairy and then being great today.
I couldn't hear you. I don't know if it was my connection or yours. I can see you move a little bit, but yeah, I know we had that connection. But maybe now it's back.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, my connection is not being great today. So
Okay.
uh don't know what's gonna happen.
We will see.
I'm trying to put Donnie's comment up, but will it clear up? What is causing this?
We got Donnie up. He took chetzi lechem, literally, and I ate half the cheesecake, literally.
So what does chetzi lechem mean?
I'm not sure. I mean, like one challah.
I guess I don't know. I've never heard that term before. Chatzi lechem might be one of these weird snag things Donnie's into.
Yeah.
Those Litvaks. Okay, should we actually dig in before my internet completely abandons us?
Yeah. Let's get at least one paragraph, and then it's just we studied Torah, and then we can whatever happens happens. Yeah.
Is it your turn or my turn? I think it's my turn actually.
I think so.
Okay. Chapter 15. Bedarchei kniat haprishut. In the manner of acquiring separation. הנה הדרך המובחר לקנות את הפרישות הוא שיסתכל האדם בגריעות תענוגים העולם הזה. So the best way for a person to pleasures of this world are upichutam mitzad atzmam, and their lowliness, I like their intrinsic baseness. Yeah, from their own thing. והרעות הגדולות שקרובות להיוולד מהם. And those evil things which are great evils that are near to result from them. Yeah, I like their translation better than anything I would have done. כי הנה מה שמטה הטבע אל התענוגים, תענוגות, that which turns a person's nature towards pleasure, האלה, these pleasures, עד שיצטרך כל כך כוח ותחבולות להפרישו מהם, until it requires such power and strategies to separate himself from it. הוא פיתוי העיניים הנפתים במראה הדברים. Oof. It is the folly of the eyes, which are enticed by the external, superficial appearance of things. Asher hu tov va'arev l'chora, which appears to be good and desirable externally, superficially at the beginning. hu hapitui shegaram lachet harishon sheya'asa.
Right.
That is the enticement that caused the first sin. Ke'edut hakatuv, like the witness of Genesis 3:6. ותראה האישה כי טוב העץ למאכל וכי תאווה הוא לעיניים ותיקח מפריו ותאכל.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's emphasizing, it's almost like double, like so repeating even the metaphor, I guess you call it, the metaphor of using the eyes as what's actually consuming this.
Yeah, I mean,
she will see, and also it's a pleasure for the eyes specifically.
Yeah. Whenever I translate the section of Shema that says "Velo tatur acharei levavchem asher atem zonim achareihem," right? You shall not go after the enticements of your eyes, which you prostitute yourself after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. V'tikach mipiryo v'tochal, and she took from its fruit and ate. Ava kishiyitbarer el ha'adam. It's funny. There's one of the 613 mitzvot is lo tatur acharei levavchem v'charnechem. You should not stray after your hearts and after your eyes. Yeah.
Interesting.
אבל שיתברר אל האדם היות הטוב ההוא כוזב. But a person has to clarify to himself that this good is imaginary.
Quite interesting. So he calls it good here, or an imaginary good.
Yeah, I think I think he means the good of it is.
Right. היות הטוב ההוא כוזב לגמרי, מדומה. Well, because she said it's good for the eyes, or she like.
Yeah, it's not actually good. No, it's kozev legamre. It's completely false. It just appears that way. It's sheker hachan vehevel hayofi. Medume ubli shum hatmada nachona. It is just appears so, and it is without any eternal establishment. V'harabo amiti o karov lehivaled mimenu be'emet. But the evil that's in it is true, or it's close to being born into reality. Vadai sheyim'as bo. Person would be disgusted by it. V'lo yirtzehu klal. And he wouldn't desire it at all. על כן זהו כל הלימוד שצריך שילמד האדם את שכלו. This is the entirety of the lesson that a person has to teach his reason, his mind, להכיר בחולשת התענוגים, to recognize the weakness of delights האלה, ושקרם, and their falsity. Ad sheme'alav yim'as bam, until he himself becomes disgusted by them. And it doesn't become a difficult thing to throw them away from himself. הנה תענוג המאכל הוא היותר מוחש ומורגש. And the pleasure of eating is more felt, tangible and felt. היש דבר אבד ונפסד יותר ממנו? But is there anything that is that leaves and is how do they translate it? Passing than this? שהרי אין שיעורו אלא כשיעור בית הבליעה. Because the fact is that it only lasts as long as you're chewing, right? Like as soon as you swallow, it's over.
Not only that, I don't know if that's what he's talking about. Like, you eat something that's good, it tastes good, and it's
gone.
It wrecks you afterwards.
Well, that too.
And you might know that it will do that.
That too, yeah. כיוון שיצא ממנו וירד בבני המעיים אבד זכרו ונשכח כאילו לא היה. That after it leaves the mouth and goes into the intestines, it even its memory is destroyed and it's forgotten as if it had never been. וכך יהיה שבע אם אכל ברבורים אבוסים. What are barburim avusim?
Balbul is like a swan.
Coarse bread.
Okay. Yes,
oh no, fattened swans.
Oh, okay.
And is
a swan?
Swan can be kosher. Sure, why not?
Well, it needs to be explicit though. No, I mean, like does it say what's not explicit? What's
no?
Not
so we assume any bird that has eyes on the side of its head, sides of its head, not front of its head, is kosher bird.
Interesting. I thought it was more explicit where it lists the non-kosher ones.
Right, it is. That's why there are actually people who don't eat turkey. So there are people who refuse to eat kosher turkey.
Right.
But there are very few such people.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is turkey has become accepted as a kosher thing, despite the fact if it is one of the species that is listed in the Torah, we certainly don't have a tradition about it because it's from the New World. Right. But
in Israel, it's called
Tarnagol Hodu. Yeah.
Indian. Well, I guess Hodu. I don't know if Hodu is like Indian.
It is. Yeah.
So it's like referring to the Indians.
Yeah, and so anything that was like, so there's a reason why we call it turkey in English, right? Because it was an exotic bird, right? So people called it turkey because things that were exotic came from Turkey. It's the same reason why. Do you know how you say orange in Farsi?
No.
And actually in Arabic, I believe as well. It's Portugal.
Portugal. Okay, so it's okay. Yeah. Portugal. Okay.
Yeah, Portugal, because it came from the New World, so like they called it Portugal. Yeah. Do you know how you say tomato in Farsi? It's goje farangi, which means a French plum.
French plum. Nice.
Yeah, tomatoes are French plums. So things that came from the United States got these weird names. Okay. Anyway, back to barburim. Where were we?
Barburim avusim.
Yeah, barburim avusim. Okay. Kamo im achal lechem kibar. Right? Whether he had eaten these fattened swans or he had eaten coarse bread, right? He would be just as satiated. Im achal mimenu kedei siviyah. If he had eaten enough to be satiated. Kol sheken. Im yasim el libo hacholayim harabim shecholim lavo alav mechmat achilato. And how much more so when a person considers that he might become diabetic, that he's overweight, that God have mercy on his soul, he's eating way too much, and every time he goes to the doctor tells him he needs to lose weight. Not you would never guess who that might refer to. Ulafachot hakoved shemagiehu achar hachila. At the very least, the heaviness that comes out of eating, right? Ashanim hamabilim et sichlo.
Right.
Ashanim
It's
meaning
the
vapor.
cloud. It's cloudy.
Yeah, yeah. So like, you,
Ashan. It's like
what do they call it? Turkey coma, food coma.
fruit coma. Coma.
Yeah, have you heard of a food coma?
No.
That's when you eat a lot and you have to take a nap or
Yeah, that's.
yeah.
I used to work in a place in Queens, and there was an amazing shawarma place nearby. So we would all go there at lunch, and then after lunch, nobody would work for like 2 hours because
Oh,
just the whole
yeah,
laugh.
yeah, yeah.
It's not. It was a
Hey,
problem.
I think the idea of a siesta is actually a very good idea. We should go back to siestas. And he was saying chetzi lachem, not chetzi lechem. Chetzi
I
lachem.
think chetzi
So
lechem. Chetzi lecha maybe, not lechem. Sounds like.
so there's a famous Talmud about Atzeret. So in the Talmud, Shavuot is called Atzeret, and so there's a famous Talmud which asks, are the holidays, because it says Yeh lachem, right? And there's Mikra Kodesh, I think, or something like that. Or Yeh lachem atzeret, or atzeret Yeh lachem. That, like, there's two verses. One that says, and there's a whole thing. So that's what Donnie's talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a Talmud discussion about that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Where were we?
I don't think we finished that paragraph.
No, we did not. Yeah. Yeah. So the food coma. Hine al kol ele vadai shelo yahpotz ha'adam b'davar hazeh. So a person should realize sugar is literally poison and not want to eat so much sugar. Kevan shetovato eina tova v'ra'ato ra'a. Because that which appears to be good in it is not actually good. What is evil in it is actually truly evil. Usha'ar kol ha'hana'ot shaba'olam kemochen. And any other worldly pleasures are similar to this. Ilu yitbonena bahem yiresh afilu hatov hamedume shebahem. If he really considers it, he sees that even the good that seems to come out of them, einenu ela lezman muat. He sees that they are not eternal things; they're for a short period of time. V'hara sheyachol lehivaled mehem kashe v'aroch ad shelo yeot lashum ba'al sechel lasum atzmo b'sakanato. Right, and the bad things that could come from it, right? They're very difficult and long, right? You get diabetes, God have mercy on your soul. You have a heart attack, God have mercy on your soul, right? So why are you eating all these cheesecakes, right? That an intelligent man would never put himself into such a position.
Yeah, it reminds me.
Yeah.
This is kind of connected, and maybe it'll get more connected. But when I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a while, and then when I went there, I talked to the instructor. maybe has the better term for that, or to the instructor. And I chatted with him, and we kind of spoke about. He asked me why do I want to do it, and I followed up with like, why do usually people want to do this? And he said that there's a lot of people that they come here and it makes them to be better people, and just in general, they stop drinking or they do or something like that. And I was like, oh wow, like I assumed, okay, they stop drinking because it gives them, it gives them discipline, and they're together and whatever, right? And I thought maybe in that angle was it, and he was like, not necessarily. They stop drinking because if they drink before they go into the mat and wrestle with
Mm.
other people, they don't feel good, and they're not good. They lose, so they want to stop losing. They want to stop losing, so they stop drinking, and then they're better on the mat. So it's not that it's like the added motivation that helps them be more disciplined, not the fact that somebody tells them you should do this and that, right? So
So
it's
this
an
is
interesting kind of subtle point.
yeah, no, this really gets into the whole question of a person becoming an alcoholic or an
Mhm.
otherwise an addict.
Yeah,
Like there's other things going on in their life. It isn't just the alcohol,
right.
right? It's what else is going on in their life. Yeah, but yeah. Okay. בסכנת הרעות על רווח הטוב המועט ההוא, right? He's not going to do it um, for the small good that he could get. וזה פשוט. This is clear. ושירגיל את עצמו ויתמיד בעיונו על האמת הזאת. And when a person accustoms himself and he makes it constant in his contemplations that this is true. הנה מעט מעט יצא חופשי ממאסר הסכלות. He will be able to escape freely from the prison of folly. אשר החומר אוסר אותו, which the material world has shackled him in.
Mhm.
ולא יתפתה מפיתויי ההנאות הכוזבות כלל. And he would not be enticed by the enticements of these false pleasures at all. אז ימאס בהם. He would be disgusted by them. וידע שאין לו לקחת מן העולם אלא ההכרחי. He would understand that he should only take from the world that which he must. וכמו שכתבתי, like I explained above. והנה, כמו שהתבונן על זה הדבר גורם קניית הפרישות. In the same way that a person who meditates on this thing, it would bring him to acquire separation. כך sichluto mafsid oto. Similarly, his folly makes him lose out. וההתמדה בין השרים ואנשי הגדולות הרודפים אחר הכבוד ומרבים ההבל. And spending a lot of time among princes and great people who run after honor and who increase vanity. כי בראותו את היקר ההוא והגדולה ההיא. When he sees the value of it and the greatness of it. אי אפשר שלא תתעורר תאוותו בו לחמוד אותם. Right? It's impossible that it wouldn't awaken in him a lust to desire them, to covet them. ואפילו לא יניח את יצרו שינצח אותו.
So
Yeah.
So it's interesting that he takes the tack of he's telling you that you need to acquire good traits,
Yeah.
right? But there's a limit to that, to what that can do. So that if you are in a position where you have good traits, but you are um, in an environment that has all these things around you, it's impossible for you um, to um, not get covetous, or not
Enticed. Yeah.
enticed by them. So it's like, right, it's like there's a limit. I mean, there's an admission here to, right, to the nature of a person. Like, you can be as good as you can to work on the things that you should do or you should be, but you still need to keep a distance.
So I mean, this really does go back to the Rambam's Hakdama to Perek Chalek, chapter 10 of Sanhedrin, right? Where he gives that allegory, right? That, you know, as people grow, you have to start children with, like, so, you know, you say to a little child, hey, if you learn your alphabet, I'll give you some candy. Now, obviously, the candy is not nearly as valuable to the child as learning the alphabet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you were to say to an adult, hey, I'll give you some candy if you learn how to read, right? The adult understands, like, what are you even talking about? Like, if if I don't know how to read, learning to read is worth so much more than any candy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So I think what he's doing is he's going from the small things that Maimonides talks about to the great things that Maimonides talks about. Because let's face it, there's a level at which a person may understand, okay, going after material things isn't great, but they still want things like kavod and, you know, like the grandeur and, like, and he might even say, what's wrong with wanting those things?
Mm-hmm.
I, the but the fact is, ultimately, a person has to realize that even those things which are much closer to good things are still not.
Right, right. So you're making the point also that we should remember where we are in this path
Yeah. and
specifically. It's like, this is
and I
not
think that's the contrast he's making. He's saying, okay, first you start with food,
right.
right, and you realize food, right, but then when you look at something like honor,
Mm-hmm.
right, that's much more difficult for a person to recognize, that it's also something that you need to distance
Right,
yourself from.
right, and yeah, and that's, I guess, the
Yeah.
the greatness of um, Udanas siege, the prince, right, that he brings up, and probably, I mean, the fathers before him, even the forefathers that were very successful people in some cases, or in there, and we're still able
Yeah.
to be at that level. Yeah.
Okay. ואפילו לא יניח את יצרו שינצח אותו. Even if he doesn't let his evil inclination defeat him. על כל פנים, מידי מלחמה לא ימלט. Right? He's at least going to be in this war. והנה הוא בסכנה, and that is dangerous. וכעניין זה אמר שלמה, טוב ללכת אל בית האבל מלכת אל בית המשתה. Right? And famously in Ecclesiastes, it says it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah. V'yakar mean hakol hu hitbodedut, and the most valuable of all things is solitude. Right? Hitbodedut is meditation by yourself.
Yeah.
Kikamo shemesir me'enav inyinei ha'olam, that when he takes away from his eyes the things of this world. Ken ma'avir chemdatam melibo. right? Similarly, he takes away the desire of them from his heart. Kuvar hiskir David Hamelech alav shalom b'shvach hahitbodedut ve'amar, and David in Psalms says the greatness of this solitude. Mi ten li ever kayona, who will give me a wing like a dove. Hine archik nedod alina b'midbar sela. I would, how do they translate this? I would
Go
fly
far.
away and be at rest.
Mhm.
Yes, I would wander far away. I would lodge in the wilderness forever. Yeah. Okay. Where were we?
Elisha.
Vahanevi'im, Eliyahu Elisha, right? And Elisha and Elijah, who were prophets. Matzanu heyotam me'achadim mekomam el haharim. They would set their as their personal space to be out in the mountains. Mipnei hitbodedutam, because there they found solitude. V'chachamim v'chasidim harishonim, and the early pious sages, Zal, halchu be'ikvotehem, also went among the same footsteps. Ki matz'u lahem ze ha'emtza'i hayoter muchan liknot shlemut haprishut, because they found this to be the best way to acquire a complete separation.
Well, acquire complete separation, or does he mean in order for them to perfect their attribute of separation?
What do you mean?
Meaning is the prishut is an attribute that you are perfecting, or something that like an aspect of yourself or your dynamic that you're perfecting, but it's something that you're going to use for something.
Okay, well, yeah, prishut brings you to shlemut, but this is a smichut. This is shlemut haprishut, right? So like the wholeness of how they translate it, perfection in separation. Yeah.
Right. I mean, the decision that I'm making is, I'm saying it's not that this was their way to be completely separated, because once they get out of that separation, once they get out of the desert, they're back in their community. So I think that's not what he's saying. He's saying that they're perfecting their attribute of separation in the desert where can't, right, and then they can bring that back.
I don't think
No?
that's I understand the distinction you're trying to make, both grammatically and theologically. I think there's a mistake there.
Okay.
Because the fact is that even when a tzaddik, even when he eats, right, it says, I believe it is also Ecclesiastes, might be Proverbs, right? A pious man eats half of his fill, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's still the prishut even when you're eating, right? So when you actually acquire shlemut haprishut, right? It's not like a Nazarite brings a sin offering, mm-hmm. because having to go out into the wilds in order to acquire prishut, right? That's not shlemut haprishut. If you have to go live in the mountains, that's not prishut beshlimuto.
So, but isn't that what they're doing here?
Right, but they're doing it in order to acquire, and this is another thing with like Jewish texts that I think is an important nekuda, is an important point. There are no perfect people in Jewish literature.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is someone who's striving towards something better. Even Moses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who Moshe Rabbeinu anav mikol adam, right? He in many ways we would say he's the greatest of all men, right? Still, the text is critical of him.
Right.
He's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have human perfection, right? And Elijah and Elisha, yes, great. Who is like Elijah? He was bodily assumed into heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, that doesn't mean that what he's doing here is showing you that he was perfect. It's showing you that he was acquiring perfection.
Acquiring perfection in separation.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I mean, the last point that
solitude brings you towards acquiring perfection in separation. Yes.
Okay, I think that's what I was saying. I think so. Maybe we're not saying something else.
Okay. So once again, are they acquiring separation which brings them to perfection, or are they acquiring
or is the separation
as is an Adam Shalem Poresh or not?
No, yeah. So the first one,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think we hashed it out enough. Okay. L'ma'an asher yavium havlei chaverehem lahavhil gam hem kamotam. Right? So that they should not be caused by the vanities of those around them to also become confused. וממה שצריך להיזהר בקניית הפרישות הוא שלא ירצה האדם לדלג ולקפוץ אל הקצה האחרון שבו רגע אחד. And what a person needs to be careful about when he is acquiring separation is that he shouldn't want to jump, right? How they skip. Okay. To the greatest extremity, all at once. Because this is not something that's possible. Person should little by little take steps. Hayom yikneh k'tzat mimenu, machar yosif alav ma'at yoter. Should take a little today and a little bit more tomorrow. Ad sheyitragel bo legamre, until he becomes accustomed to it completely. Ki yashuv lo kamo teva mamash, so that it should become in him like nature, a second nature completely.
Mm-hmm.
Want to keep on going? These are short chapters.
Yeah. Yeah. When we start, yeah, we can continue. Yeah, I'm curious because I want to see, because this is going to answer a little bit of the question of like, okay, how you acquire the perfection of separation, what happens?
What's next?
What's next? I mean, like that was I think the question that was like implicit, at least in
okay.
What we're talking about. Okay. Shall we?
Sure.
Bebi'ur midat ha'te'ara. This is discussing the level attribute of purity. Ha'te'ara hi tikun halev ve'amachshavot. Purity is about the correction, the amendment.
Rectification.
Rectification, that's the word that we like to use. Rectification of the heart and the thoughts. V'zeh lashon. This is how. This is the term. Matza'enu etzel David Shama. This is a term that King David used in Psalms. Lev tahor barali elokim. A pure heart God has created for me.
Well, so this is bara. This is the command form.
Create. Right?
Yeah, this is the command form. So, believe it or not, he commands God to create a pure heart for him.
Yeah. I'm going through Psalms very, very slowly. I have an art scroll. There's just kind of like this. It talks about the history, and because just learning it, so it's very interesting.
Very nice.
It's fun because it's poetry and history, and like it's everything together. It's like pretty crazy.
Perfect. Anyway, and the Midrash Tehillim apparently is something else.
The middle is something else. Is like something else, or
like it's one of the great things to study, because like what all the midrashim bring from various things, like it's pretty interesting. Not that I've studied Midrash Tehillim, but Midrash I think Tehillim Rabbah is available, but yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. You're checking Safari?
Well, I could check Safari here.
No.
Let's see. Midrash. Midrash Rabbah, Bereshit Rabbah, Midrash. Let's see if the Midrash Rabbah actually does have here. Eicha Rabbah is also apparently incredible. Kohelet Rabbah, Shir Hashirim Rabbah. No, I guess there's no.
What's Midrash Rabbah?
So Midrash Rabbah is a collection of midrashim.
Oh, okay, that's what you looked
so it's called whatever Rabbah, right? Yeah. So similarly, the Mechilta, like all of these midrashim, like they're collections of midrashim.
Yeah.
Right. So where exactly, what exactly is? These are midrashay halacha and these are midrashay. But I thought there was midrash lekach tov. No, I thought there was, but what do I know?
Midrash, no. There might be Midrash Tehillim. Midrash Tehillim.
Where'd you see Midrash Tehillim?
Go back
on the previous page. Okay. Midrash Tehillim. There you go. So there's Midrash Tehillim. Midrash Tehillim, also referred to as Midrash Socher Tov, not Shocher Tov, is a midrash on the Book of Psalms. It was put together about 500 to 1,000 years ago. So there you go.
Cool. Yeah, I think I see it referenced in my book.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Okay, there we go. Okay, where were we? We were here. Okay.
Oh. Ve'inyana. And the matter is, she'lo yaniach adam makom layetzer b'masav, that a man should not give any place for his inclination to control any of his deeds, or to be near his deeds. Ela yukol ma'asav al tzad ha'chokhmah va'yirah, ve'lo al tzad ha'chet va'te'ava. His deeds should always be on the side of wisdom and fear of awe of God, and not controlled or inclined towards the sin and desire and lust. And this is even in the matters, the physical matters and material matters. That even after he is perfect, well, not perfect, after he is dealing with separation, right? Dayenu shelo yikach min haolam ela echachim, meaning that he takes from the world only what is necessary. עדיין יצטרך לתאר לבבו ומחשבתו. He still needs to purify his heart and his thought. שגם באותו המעט אשר הוא לוקח לא יכוון אל ההנאה והתאווה כלל. That even with the little that he does take from the world, right, the necessary, he still should not aim, or there should not be a smidge of that kind of pleasure and lust. אלא תהיה כוונתו אל הטוב, היוצא מן המעשה הוא על צד החוכמה והעבודה. However, not however, how do you say אלא?
Instead,
his intention should be towards the good that is coming out of the that is going to be the effect of the deeds, and that is related to wisdom or the worship.
Naftali has words to say.
He's getting his diaper changed. Wait, what was the up there? I had something there. What was it? Show me that again. Oh, I think this is just a reflection, if I'm not mistaken, of a previous pair that we have. Which pair would it be? We had Zrizut, Zihirut, Zrizut.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Prishut, the third one, is it? No.
I don't remember the exact.
But I mean, it's kind of like it's the same dynamic where you do something, you separate yourself, which is kind of like zirut, and then you need to make sure that you're like even the small things, right? It's like pishpush v'mishmush.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, there's he's kind of coupling how one relates to the other. Yeah. Once you're poresh, then you can go after tahara, which is to have the proper intention even in things which you
right. Which is kind of the same thing that we were talking about. You have zrizut, and then you have nekiut, which is cleanliness. This is very close to purity, but it has a distinction that now you're at a higher level where it's not only your intentions, it's the deeper.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. Okay. וכעניין שאמרו ברבי אליעזר בנדרים, and it also relates to something that Rabbi Eliezer said in the Talmud, שהיה מגלה טפח או מכסה טפחיים, ודומה למי שכפהו שד. That he used to do a thing where he would reveal a corner.
So when he was with his wife, right, he would reveal 1 cubit and he would cover 2 cubits, right? Meaning that he would, not literally, but it was as if he was being forced by a demon to do the deed.
Right. It seemed like he did not enjoy it at all. And he was doing it only because of the mitzvah and because of the worship. And also related to this, in the same vein, King Solomon said in Proverbs, know him in all your ways, and he, God, will straighten your ways or your behavior. Ochotecha is your paths.
I'll tell a weird story, but so halakhically, you're not supposed to refuse your wife unless you have a very good reason, right? And one of the guys who found out about this was telling me, like, he's been like he was complaining, like, okay, but I feel like, it's kind of like rape, like every time, like I'm like, good problems to have. good problems to have, but he's in a situation where he's like, okay, I religiously must do this.
Or compelled, yeah, religious
Yeah.
compulsion.
So I guess the demon that's compelling him is the person who told him that that's the halacha.
Yeah. Okay. Weiter. Vomnam? Yeah, no, I think we didn't do that. Vomnam.
Oh yeah.
צריך שתדע, however, you should know, שכמו ששייך טהרת המחשבה מעשים הגופניים, אשר הם מצד עצמם הקרובים ליצר, it's similarly, in the same way that the purity of the thought, when it relates to the bodily deeds that are by nature closer to the evil inclination, לשהתרחקו ממנו ולא יהיו משלו, in the same way that you want to, that you use the purity of thoughts to separate yourself from those things, כך שייך טהרת המחשבה במעשים הטובים הקרובים לבורא יתברך שמו, in the same way it also relates, use it for the good deeds that are closer to what the your creator wants from you. שלא יתרחקו ממנו ולא יהיו משל היצר. That you want those deeds as well, that they should remain in the side of good and the wisdom, and that they should not be close to the evil inclination.
Halavai had such problems.
Sorry?
Halavai had such problems that I was doing good things because for the wrong reasons.
Right. ועניין שלא לשמה, המוזכר בדברי רבותינו ז"ל פעמים רבות. And this is the matter of doing something not for the sake of Torah, right? That our sages explained. So he said there are things that are obviously evil, or that they are from the side of you need to separate yourself from them. And then there are things sometimes you do lo lishma. They're good, they're intrinsically good, but you're not doing them for the right motivation. So you should also make sure that you don't do that. You go to the level where they're intrinsically good and you do them for the right reasons. אוקיי, ואולם כבר נתבהרו דברי החכמים ז"ל, שיש מינים שונים שלא לשמה. However, our sages also explain that there are different kinds of lo lishma, of things that you do not for the sake of the mitzvah itself. Okay, so let's go through them. הרע מכולם, the worst of them all, הוא שאיננו לא עובד לשם עבודה כלל, אלא לרמות בני אדם ולהרוויח כבוד או ממון. The worst thing is when you do it not for the sake of worship at all, not for the sake of serving God at all, but to deceive people and to acquire honor or wealth. וזהו שאמרו בו, and this is what our sages said in the Talmud, and ירושלמי נוח לו שנהפכה שילתו על פניו. It is good that it would have been better if his how do you say that?
So literally, if he had suffocated on his afterbirth.
Right. Yeah. It would have been better if that happened to him. Yeah. And also on this kind of person, the prophet Isaiah said, "V'nei ketame kulanu ukebeged idim kol tzidkatenu," which means we are all as one unclean, and all our righteous deeds are like discarded garments.
Yeah, don't tell the Lutherans. They make way too much out of this verse. Misunderstanding.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so this was the worst kind of lo lishma, not for the sake of the mitzvah. ויש מין אחר שלא לשמה, שהוא העבודה על מנת לקבל פרס. And the second level is when you do something for the sake of the reward. And about this, our sages says, ועליו עברו in פסחים, in the Talmud, לעולם יעסוק אדם בתורה ומצוות ואפילו שלא לשמה. If a man should always um, deal with the Torah and mitzvot, not for the sake of doing the mitzvah, שמתוך שלא לשמה בא לשמה. Because when you do something not for the sake of the Torah or the mitzvot, you will end up doing it for that sake. אך על כל פנים, מי שלא הגיע עדיין מתוך שלא לשמה אל לשמה, הרי רחוק הוא משלמותו. Taking this into account, we should consider that the person that is currently doing something not for the sake of Torah mitzvah, he is still far from perfection.
Yeah. I would just make the diuk here that according to the Ramchal, he seems to be saying that, so if a person is doing things just because like other people and stuff like that, he's not doing it at the very least because it is a mitzvah, but he's doing it in order to like to get money or something like that. Like that's already at the level of like, no, you shouldn't even be doing that.
Yeah,
it's ein beyado ela aveira, right? He's in fact like that's the ketame kulanu v'kebeged idim kol tzidkotenu, right?
It's okay. That's a good point. Another point I thought you were going to make is that he says, so the first person, right, it does it for the sake of gaining something. So there's a utilitarian aspect to it. But it's the kind of utilitarian aspect that is, like you said, is invalid. Like this is, you don't do it in this way. The second person does it for reward. Now, reward, I guess the term really refers to maybe like, it mostly just refers to olam haba, or it refers to reward from the perspective of a spiritual reward, right? So when it says plus, when it says reward, it's not like generic reward.
It's a reward from God.
It's a reward from God. So so there is a reward from God. So that's that. What about the person that does something? What if I do something lo lishma because I want to have a more cohesive family or a more cohesive society, or I want to get better relationship with my neighbors? Is that the first person?
I think the first person you're talking derech ramaut, right? You're talking where a person is a ramai. He's a faker. He
makes it seem like he's doing it for that sake, but really it's just like personal gain.
Yeah, he's doing it like there's no. I read an article recently. Some priest had stolen $300,000 from the Greek Orthodox Church. Right? And it's like, okay, like like, come on, or frankly, I've seen rabbis do horrible things, like, and it happens that people are in a position of, for example, rabbinic authority, right? And they don't actually believe any of it whatsoever, but that's their job and that's how they're earning their money. For such a person, it seems to me it would be better if he wasn't even pretending. It
would have been better for everybody.
Yeah, if you weren't even pretending, right? But generally, I mean, that's already a place where your kavanah in doing the mitzvah makes it an avera. Ein beyado ela avera, right? He ends up doing worse than not doing it all. Yeah. Okay, so we're on paragraph 16.9.
16.9.
Yeah. Okay. I am end the stream. It was nice talking to you. Give my best to Naftali.